Welcome to another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we're getting into something lots of people grapple with. Learning to program.
It's a big topic.
We looked at some source material you brought in specifically, a transcript from a YouTube video, aimed at beginners, it seems.
That's right. And our goal today is, well, to unpack the main ideas from that source.
Exactly. What challenges does it highlight? What's its perspective on, why coding can be tough, and maybe how to make learning stick?
And there are some maybe surprising claims in there, too.
We'll get to those. Think of this as us filtering that specific viewpoint from your material for you.
Okay, so this video transcript, it frames learning programming in a pretty interesting way.
How so?
It sort of compares it to learning any language, like your first spoken language, or maybe a second or third one.
Okay, I can see that parallel.
Yeah.
So, one of the first big things that jumps out from this source, it claims programming isn't purely technical. It calls it fundamentally a creative profession.
Yeah, that definitely puts a different spin on it, doesn't it? It's not just logic gates and syntax.
Right. And if you accept that premise, that it's creative, then the next point from the source kind of follows logically.
Which is?
The importance of actually enjoying the specific programming language you're learning.
Yes. They really stress that, like, that enjoyment is sort of the engine driving you forward.
It's not just about whether you can learn it, but whether you connect with it somehow. Find some passion there.
Precisely. That seems to be the argument.
Okay, now here's where the source makes, a very bold claim. I'd say quite specific.
I know the one you mean.
It states, quite definitively, that video content is always more effective than written content for learning programming.
Always. No caveats mentioned in the material we reviewed. It's a strong stance.
It really is. And sort of tied into that, the source also pushes for content creators to really focus on explaining simple concepts. Keep it basic initially.
Yeah, break it down. They even mention something about a simple 3-step process, suggesting that's key.
And they seem to apply this broadly. The transcript mentioned things like C, PHP.
All right, C, PHP, web development, even computer science as a field. The implication is these ideas are widely applicable.
Okay. What about, the whole discussion around short attention spans? Everyone talks about that.
The source touches on it. It basically argues that, well, yes, attention span matters, but the most critical thing is whether the content adds real value. If it's valuable, the source seems to say you should engage with it anyway.
Regardless of length or format, as long as it delivers.
That seems to be the gist, which maybe, from their perspective, ties back to the video claim.
How so?
Well, perhaps they believe video inherently provides more value for learning basics, making it worth your time.
Interesting connection. Okay, so turning this to you, listening in, how do these points from your source land?
Yeah, if you're learning code right now, does thinking of it as creative change anything for you?
Or being told you really need to enjoy the language itself? Does that affect maybe which language you'd choose or how you study?
And if you create learning content, tutorials, courses, whatever, does this source's very strong push for video over text or the focus on simplicity? Does that resonate or maybe challenge how you do things?
Understanding this specific perspective is useful because it offers, concrete advice. Maybe controversial, but concrete.
It's definitely one specific roadmap laid out in this material.
Right. So let's take only what this source emphasizes. Programming is creative. Enjoyment of the language is key, and video is always the best medium.
Okay, isolating those claims.
What kind of ideal learning environment does that specific combination suggest? If you follow only this source's logic, what fosters creativity best? And maybe, is enjoying the medium, the video itself, just as important for success as enjoying the subject, the language, according to this view?
That's a fascinating question based purely on their arguments. Does the delivery method become part of the required enjoyment?
Something to think about. How do those pieces fit together in this particular framework?
Definitely food for thought.
Absolutely. So take these points from your source material, mull them over, see how they stack up against your own experience.
Compare it to what you know or believe.
And that wraps up our deep dive for today.